Alright, Jeff and Will. Welcome back, nerds and turds, to another live stream repair. Let's get set up here. I'm going to try to cruise through these two HomePods because it is sweltering in this room right now. Alright. So first up is William's HomePod. It has no power. Alright, how do I open this? Yes, here we go. Oh man, it's hot. Ooh. At least it'll make taking these things apart a little easier. The adhesive kind of just gives up when it gets so hot in here. Alright. Let's check our symptoms. Nothing lighting up there. 4 watts from the wall. That tells me we have the usual dead diode inside. Failed for no reason other than they're crap. Crappy little diodes. Only 2 weeks of them in particular were built like crap. So we're going to go ahead and get that replaced with a brand new and technically stronger diode. While we're inside, we're going to do a little bit of maintenance and replace the original DC filters on the amplifier, since they are ceramic capacitors and all ceramic capacitors naturally decay over time. But for the particular capacitors we're talking about in these HomePods, failure is intolerable because it leads to DC voltage going where it shouldn't, getting amplified by the amplifier, and then sent to your subwoofer speaker, where it will overheat. And if you're lucky, the amplifier will death fart and restart at ya as like a cry for help. I had somebody send me a video a few weeks ago. This is the first time I've actually gotten a video of this. I've had plenty of people telling me, but their HomePods filtering capacitors, of course, had gone bad. So much DC voltage was getting through the amp and into the subwoofer that they actually caught a video of smoke coming out of the top of their HomePod. And they were like, yeah, do you think if I send a video of this to Apple, they'll send me a free replacement? And unfortunately, maybe if you had sent that to them a few weeks ago, you might have had a better chance, but I think those chances are very slim now that Apple recently declared the first gen as a vintage product. Ooh, we got some folks in the chat. Welcome, welcome. Ooh, the regulars. The old-timies. What's up, folks? Yeah, it sounds metal until you get a good smell of it. I'm sure you know what smelled, or what the smell of roasted copper windings smells like. It's like the perfect death for HomePods though. Cause like, and I mean this isn't unique to the HomePods. Any speaker is gonna, depending on how much DC voltage you're pumping into it, that can fry it. But yeah, with the normal audio signal that you feed a speaker, that's AC. Despite, having a positive and a negative connection for your speaker, the audio signal that you're feeding it is actually an AC signal, not a DC signal. AC voltage good for speaker, DC voltage bad for speaker. And the reason for that is AC voltage is a full sine wave, right? So the speaker's going to move out and then in the same amount and then return to center. With a DC voltage, the speaker is going to move one direction and actually stay there until that DC voltage is removed. And so what you've done is effectively taken away the speaker's ability to cool itself while simultaneously under load constantly. It's got to work extra hard to hold itself in that position from the DC voltage. In addition to, now you have a limited amount of movement left for the AC audio that does make it through. So reduced performance, enhanced roastiness. All that over a couple of little caps. And then of course, the subwoofer's doing all that work. The amplifier's got to do all that extra work to drive all of that crap too. So you're blowing up your amp, you're blowing up your speaker. All over a couple of teeny tiny little millivolts of DC leaking through some caps. And I used to be able to get away with not replacing these filters every time we fix a HomePod. We would test them, and if they didn't leak too much DC voltage, we could trust that they would last and continue working for a while longer. But recently, I've noticed more and more of the original capacitors testing okay one day, and then a few weeks or a few months later, they'll rapidly start to decline. So, given that the original production run of the first gen HomePods was late 2017, early 2018, that ages the capacitors they used at least, 6 years. So, plus however much longer the caps just sat on the shelf before actually getting installed into the HomePods. But still, it makes you wonder, such an obvious problem, why wouldn't Apple have accounted for it in such an expensive product? And here we've got those 4 filters right here. These big 4 brown ones, these tan colored guys. All it takes is one of those 4 to fall out of spec for everything to fall apart. I'm not sure why they used these caps in this arrangement, but doesn't last. Maybe they prioritized the form factor and had so many other constraints to deal with that as long as they could get it to last a couple of years, that was all that really mattered. There we go. 4 fresh filters to keep the flatulence away. Let's get this dead diode replaced so we can, 46K dated. Again, no one is surprised. Self-cooking was the in trim. Yeah, that's a good point. That's a very good point. Okay, so we've got new filters on here, so we don't have to worry about any death farts coming back to bite them after all this work fixing their no power issue by replacing that Schottky diode. Let's get this put back together. Give it a quick power up, and then we'll take a look at this second HomePod that we've got. Yeah, give me the biggest, fattest CPU, GPU, memory, and storage with the. No, I don't even want 12-inch. Give me an 11-inch. I want my 11-inch back. Give me an 11-inch MacBook Pro and a 17-inch MacBook Pro. That would be the perfect pairing. Yeah, no, that is, you speak well. I guess Chromebooks are the hot new thing, though. People are starting to realize and notice, and I mean, yeah, it's the freaking Lenovo quality that has just been going downhill pretty much constantly since they acquired the ThinkPad lineup from IBM. what with how locked down all the modern ThinkPads are too, how expensive they are. Which, I mean, back then new ThinkPads weren't cheap either, but a used modern ThinkPad with decent modern specs is still going to be, well, maybe not so expensive, since people don't really want them as much now. Most kids in school nowadays were growing up on the Chromebooks, so it's the OS they know. I don't know how much truth there was to this comparison chart meme thing I saw floating around, but it compared the ThinkPads to the Chromebooks, and basically the Chromebook, you know, it was pretty easy to install custom firmware or a custom bootloader and multi-boot, and I don't know. I don't really know what I'm talking about. I've fallen off, so I can't keep up with all this End of 2012. Let's see, what was in 2012? That was right when, that was what, the T420, T430? If I'm not mistaken. And the first, I'll never forget it, it was the first major departure from their design language by changing the keyboard. It was from that nice flat style with all the keys squared off and right next to each other, and they moved to this like curvy separate keys, crappy travel, just awful keyboard. I think it was like, I don't remember what they called it, but that was everybody saw it coming that moment. Oh, and then fast forward, what was it, 5 or 6 years ago? They tried to pay homage to all the die-hard ThinkPad enthusiasts by releasing the anniversary edition, which the only cool thing about it was the retro, was just the ThinkPad logo on it. Unfortunately, oh man, I wanted one of those so bad until I found out what the specs they were shipping them with. A dual-core Ultrabook CPU. Who wants to spend, what was it, like $1,500–$1,700 on a special edition laptop that comes with a dual-book Ultrabook CPU? Ah, what a shot in the heart. And we've got ourselves some power. Excellent. Let's pull up the info for our next repair. All right. Who's this one? Jeff. We've got another Jeff. So many Jeffs. Which Jeff is this? No power. Alright.
I'm having trouble connecting to the... I'm having trouble...
Beautiful. Will is in perfect working order. Let's get Jeff opened up here. After I find my mouse. There it is. Okay. Alright, Jeff, I'm going to take your name and phone number off of this. I don't think you want the world to see it. Not that I think our audience is prone to bad behavior like that, but you never know who's going to drop by and do what with what. Let's confirm our problems here. Plug it into power. Smack it up. Nothing other than a couple of watts from the wall there, so looking like it's going to be the exact same as William's HomePod that we just did, so here we go. Oh yeah, speaking of the malware that auto installs on new systems. Funny you mentioned that. I think I was on Shop Goodwill's website like a year ago, and for like $20, I won this 4 parts or repair ThinkPad E21. It's a pretty recent model. It's got like a 10th gen i5, 16 gigs of RAM, a freaking NVMe SSD and whatnot. And well, the only thing it didn't come with was a charger, so I bought a charger for it, and it surprisingly it powered right up into Windows. And I was like, okay, I'm just gonna wipe it and use it. I wiped it. I installed Windows. I set Windows up and everything. I used it for an hour or so. Shut it down. Turned it back on a few hours later to do something else with it. And I was greeted by the freaking like remote management software that like locks you out of like a stolen or IT locked laptop, you know? The remote malware stuff. I guess the laptop came from some work or someone's job, and they didn't properly remove it from their IT inventory, so it auto-locked. That was my first exposure to that. But I found out it can only reinstall the lockout software on Windows. Sure, it might be embedded in the BIOS to hardware reinstall itself on Windows anytime you reinstall Windows, but I found if I just installed the Ubuntu on it, it couldn't do anything about that. And it would just work as a perfectly normal Ubuntu laptop. So that's all it's been doing. That's what it has been. And I've needed a spare Linux laptop for Linuxy things, so it works out. I created a separate user account on it for my 1-year-old so that she can smack around on her own ThinkPad while I'm working, not get all jealous that I'm on my computer. She will, man. She can like throw a huge tantrum if she doesn't have the same thing that you have. Oh, and sometimes it has to be the one that you have too. Even if you've got the same thing she has, it has to be the one that you've got. Well, like that was kind of my surprise, was like, so they did all this work and effort to install this remote management software that prevents anybody from reinstalling Windows and using it as their own laptop. But they didn't think to make it work with other OSs, like the OS that would most likely be installed on a used ThinkPad. I don't know. Maybe that was like low-key supposed to be the like workaround for us that they gave us. They were like, we know this sucks, but here's something. I don't know if it's still the same on like brand new ThinkPads, like if they've gotten the remote management software to persist through. Oh, that's what it was called. The variant on my ThinkPad was called Absolute Persistence. And I don't know if that's just the generic name for it on all ThinkPads, or if that was the particular brand that was loaded onto that laptop, but that's what kept locking me out on it, and I just went with Linux. It just works. It just works. Works great. Got a ThinkPad W521 off Shop Goodwill for like $20. Again, 4 parts or repair. Bought a $5 charger for it off Amazon. So we're 25 bucks into this laptop now. Boots right up. No problems. It's not remote managed. So I was able to get away with the Windows. Ooh, spicy, hot. Oh, but those are beautiful. Almost perfect. There we go. Yeah, I know I need to get a microscope. My eyes are good enough for now, though. Very nice. We are cooking with Crisco, and the Crisco is Flex. And let's see what we've got. Better be one fixed HomePod. That's what I'm talking about. All right, folks, that's everything that showed up fixed up. Hope you all enjoyed this live stream repair. give it a sec to not connect to the Wi-Fi.
I'm having trouble connecting to
There
the
we
internet.
go.
I'm having trouble connecting to the internet. For more info,
Beautiful.